Hello, retreat leaders. How are you? Thank you for joining. Today, I will be discussing audiences, locations, and venues. In particular, I want to discuss how to create gravitas with your location, logistic fluidity, and the different types of venues that we have out there in the world, and which one suits us best as a facilitator at what time. So, I'm going to begin with identifying the right audience for your retreat. Okay, so the reason why Amelia and I had so much success with our first international retreat launches, which was Bali, is because at the time, although we didn't know it, at the time, we had aligned ourselves with the right location and we were advertising to the right audience. Okay, now these days we don't leave it to chance. What we do is do the research. Now we do the trend analysis. So as you can see here, we are searching on Google Trends, and I want you all to do this with your own retreat idea, okay? So wherever you're thinking about hosting your retreat, you go to Google Trends, you type in that location and then travel, and then you have a look over the last 12 months, what's been going on, okay? So we know that Corona and all that stuff has basically crushed Bali's tourism, totally destroyed it. And then Bali opened up, and now Bali is peaking up at 100. It's literally been running at 100 points of interest since March, since last month. Okay, so it's absolutely peaking right now. Okay, now what's of interest of us though is who does it peak for? Okay, now this is consistently Australia. Australia consistently ranks as the #1 Bali tourist. And that is because of its barrier to entry. All right. And I'll discuss that in a moment. But essentially, Australians can get to Bali within a 4-hour flight. There are literally flights every single day, almost from every main city, right? So it is really easy to get there. And we have been going there. We're educated with the population. We have a lot of Indonesians living in our country, and we've been in a symbiotic relationship with Australians and Balinese for a very long time, right? Balinese in particular, right? So that is how you end up making an environment where you can really easily sell your retreat to your audience. That's what happened with us, okay? Bali advertised to Australia, super easy. You may have seen Jen, who is one of our recent star students. She has made about 50,000 euros in sales in 6 weeks. And how did she do that? How did she make 50,000 euros in sales in 6 weeks? Is because we were advertising Tuscany to Ireland. Look how amazing that is. I mean, number 2, 3, 4, and 5 rank at 31, 24, and 17. Okay. Ireland comes in at 100, staggering 100 points. There is an ethnic connection between Irish and Italians. They have a connection. Okay. And they love it. So we have an Irish facilitator who's skilled in sales, living in Tuscany, selling Tuscan retreats to an Irish audience. So I hope that all makes sense. So can you grasp that we have the perfect alignment of product to audience? And it is a decades strong educated audience. They are very well educated on Tuscany. Their relatives have been going to Tuscany. Everybody wants to go. All their family photos are in Tuscany. Okay. So these things play a vital role in creating gravitas for your retreat by choosing the right location with the right audience. Okay. So I think it's going to be a very important lesson for you guys moving forward. Mexico is something that a lot of our past students and some future students are looking at. So if you're going to do a retreat in Mexico, you basically advertise to the States and Canada, okay, and possibly the UK. And I guess the reason, and I don't guess, I know the reason why Canada is a lot more interested is because while the flights are quite similar in time, right? Canadian people live in blistering cold essentially all the time, and they dream of sunny beaches and coconuts, right? So this is the antithesis sort of thing. So if you advertise, for example, we would advertise Greece to the UK in the middle of their winter, all right? And sort of in the middle of their winter, you're seeing ads for the sunshine in the Mediterranean on a Greek island. It will just drive you mad, okay? So people, it's an environment where people really inquire. So cost per lead is really, really cheap, right? So this efficiency in advertising replicates and can be seen in patterns everywhere. It can be seen in this pattern that the cold countries will want to go to the nearest warm country. That's where they have the strongest gravitas, right? So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that kind of environment. Now, I want to talk about logistic fluidity. Now, when we're moving, why does a place generally have that kind of gravitas? Why does Australia have 100 points for Bali in the search? Because it's a 4-hour flight, okay? So from all the major cities, it's about a 4-hour flight and you bang, there you are, okay? That is called barrier to entry, and that is a low barrier to entry for an international destination. 4-hour flight is a very low entry for, a very low flight time for an international flight. So we could arrive here in 4 hours. That was great, okay? But our retreat was actually over here on one of these tiny little islands, okay? This one here. So we choose locations like this, and you'll see the theme replicated throughout when I go through the next venues, because when you choose an area that's a little bit harder to get to, like this island from this port, you will have essentially a relatively pristine environment, because tourism, hasn't been able to really totally commercialize the place. So in terms of customer satisfaction, it's very high. People don't really want to go to from a commercial city that they live in to another commercial location, right? They want an adventure. They want authenticity. They want to see the real world, right? They want to see a bit of something they wouldn't see at home. Okay, so how do we create this adventure? Is we typically take them to somewhere marginally remote. Okay, now I would say this is the extent of the travel time. What I'm about to explain to you is the extent of travel time. You don't really want to run, you're going to stretch them too thin if you make them travel longer than this. So the original flight, 4 hours, that is really easy. Okay, you can definitely fly people internationally much longer than 4 hours. But once we arrive, we have to have a night here. Okay, we have to have a night in Bali. And the reason being is that people are coming from all over the world. And most of them come from Australia, but still they come exhausted. So they come, they arrive, we nurture them. This is the time where you have most of the complaining, right? Or most of the whinging, most of the emotions, the fear, the fright, everything that comes up at the beginning. Okay, you can handle that as best you can, have everything planned for them. We like to have massages and juices and all these nurturing things for them to arrive to. It is much easier to arrive at the venue. Okay, much easier to arrive at the venue. Arriving at the venue from an international destination without too much travel time will cost you. It will cost you in customer satisfaction because the place is not as nice, and it will cost you in the accommodation and all of your activities. Everything's more expensive right near the hustle and bustle. So we arrive here one night, see whatever you need to see quickly, take care of them. Then we have a 4-hour boat trip. Okay, 1 hour car and a 4-hour boat trip. That's quite a lot. By the time they arrive here, they're exhausted. Okay, but it's not too much of a problem, because by the time you arrive here, it's total tropical paradise. Okay, total tropical paradise, and we're staying on the beach. Now, logistic fluidity, not that great. I would advise, if possible, you can get them in and out without a night staying in a separate location. That's great, but you will see a theme throughout ours. We were willing to go the extra mile, solve all the grievances that come with having to get them into these remote locations. We solved them all. We've been through it. We know what you want at this time. We remember to take water. We bring the refreshments. We keep them nice and cozy until we arrive at the venue. If you're willing to do that, plan to that extent, you will have a much more profitable and a higher customer satisfaction retreat. Okay, that's quite an important formula to be aware of. So let's discuss now the different types of venues. So I just want to quickly outline them here. So there's the done for you venue, there's the hotel with the space to facilitate, and then there's the Airbnb, okay? So a hotel with a space to facilitate, we're not really just looking for any hotel, we are actually looking for a husband and wife or family hotel. Now, why is that? Because you speak directly to the owner, they will move things around for you, they can make things happen for you, okay? So they also are generally not that big, so that, you know, they probably span between 10 and 20 rooms. So if you get a venue like this, for example, they were a husband and wife team, he does diving, she does yoga. We hired all of these villas out, okay? So there was always 18 people on this retreat. That was 9 of them and 2 people per room. So this villa opens out onto our Yogashala, which was private to us because we booked the whole venue out. So what was essentially happening here is we didn't have any issues with any other retreats going on, or with availability, or with dining, or anything like that. We had 100% exclusivity of the hotel, and the owners bent over backwards for us, okay? That is the kind of environment that you're looking for, okay? You're not looking for a large hotel, which, you know, there's 2 managers coming in and out doing a shift, and then there's, you know, 2-3 ground staff that you talk to, but they're constantly changing. You don't want that kind of environment. No one can do anything for you, and your ability to design and control every aspect of the retreat is limited, okay? And we do want to control every aspect of the retreat. We want it very much so in the sense of at least having a guideline, like, you know, if they don't want to do this, we can swap them to another series of options that are more tailored, you know, more suited to their current needs, and you have that planned for you. If you want to be able to plan everything, you need an environment like this. This is where it works the best, okay? That's what I'm basically getting at, guys. It's also much more affordable, okay? So you could be paying crazy cheap prices at a place like this, as opposed to the difference of a place like this. A place like this is essentially a done-for-you option, okay? This is an expensive option where you don't worry about anything at all, okay? Everything is taken care of, and you will pay for it, even though it is a remote, very remote location. You will pay for the extra service, but we already had an audience that was interested in the new location, so we didn't need to do too much in the terms of, you know, finding gravitas, location, audience, this and that. We had already run a lot of retreats in Australia and Bali. We had an audience that just needed a new venue, and they were like, please take us somewhere new. So we thought, how do we create very quickly, and, you know, without having to go there, because, I mean, we had been to the island a couple of times, and we had not scouted the venue in the sense of we're scouting this, you know, to make sure it meets our benchmarks. So what we did is we had this done for you package, and we essentially created our itinerary, dropped it into our audience, and boom, sold out the first retreat. Okay, so now we have to start advertising for the second retreat. So this retreat was opened worldwide, okay? This is the kind of retreat that, in terms of logistic fluidity, it's a little bit difficult to get to. So people are flying into Phuket, Koh Samui, Singapore, Koh Samui. From Koh Samui, we have another night's accommodation, and then that following day, we take a boat over to the island, and then we take another boat over to the island. So there's a little dragon tail boat, and then there was a ferry. Logistic fluidity, again, wouldn't advise it, just definitely not very fluid, so much going on. But as I said, Amelia and I have usually run the route a couple of times, and we come pre-prepared with refreshments and everything you could think of just at the moment you need it. So if you're willing to do that kind of planning, you can take people to remote locations and have a really high customer satisfaction. Other than, if you don't have the ability to control all of those aspects, then generally you want to make it a lot easier to get there, okay? Because coming and going is very important, okay? You have to make sure the coming and going process is good, because that is when people have the highest chance of being disgruntled. And, you know, when they're leaving, we obviously want video testimonials as we coach you. And when they're arriving, you know, you want to set the retreat on the right foot. You want to get started with the right thing in mind. And at the beginning, when people are meeting each other, there's the highest chance for friction. So during that initial travel, make sure that you've covered everything. So for beginners, I wouldn't advise going to remote islands like Amelia and I do. Moving on. So then we had Greece, guys. All right. So Greece is a fantastic location. You arrive in Athens. You have to do a night in Athens, and then you fly to Kos, and then you catch a boat. And we have done that trip like many, many times. And so arriving in Athens is a dream. It's actually, you arrive, it's quite easy. It's only about a 45-minute hour ride to the main city. You get there. We've already planned a bus for all of us, and private taxis for the ones that come in at different times. In the main city, there's so much to do. Everyone can be fed and cared for and put to bed, right? So very easily, quickly, short day out, make sure everyone's jet lagged. So we had to actually keep them awake for a short time. You know, a lot of jokes and stimulating walking around. And then we feed them and put them to bed. The next day we fly over here. Okay. And then we catch a ferry over to here. Now, again, that is quite a lot of travel, but we manage each section of it. Now, this hotel, unfortunately, the website doesn't do it justice, but this hotel is an absolute dream and very much the same as the husband and wife team over here, where we have full control. This is a family. This is their only hotel. They've gone all in on this hotel. It's about 30 rooms, and we were essentially their most valuable client, okay? Because we were booking this place out 2 to 4 times a year. And we were spending, I think, at least 30,000 euros a year in accommodation, possibly more. Yeah, about 30,000 euros in accommodation with them per year. So, you know, for them, that was almost 10%, maybe a bit more of their annual revenue. 10% of your annual revenue coming through one client to a family, right? Think about that. We become the most important client in their life. So we're the VIP client. We're the most important client. No one else brings this volume of guests, okay? So what they do is everything above and beyond. They were washing our clothes. You know, we had so much extra service that I had negotiated for our guests, and we had full functionality. So all this would just be removed for us. Yoga mats laid out, yoga by the pool on the water for us, private. People would, you know, guests would be diverted away. Okay, so lots of amazing things that you can have done. Each guest had their own oceanfront view. Again, mind-blowing. It's very hard to achieve that. Yeah, so, you know, this quality, this venue is very sellable in itself. So it comes with great, you know, an asset. This is an asset to us as a facilitator when the venue has fantastic content. Okay. So this venue, again, it's quite easy to get to because this actually is an international airport. Okay. So for a lot of our audience, which was the Europe-based audience, because we sold a lot to the UK, right? Because if we check this out, let's have a look. Okay, so so here the UK comes in at 71. All right, so we sold a lot to the UK. The UK was basically our strongest audience for us. We did have a few Cypriots come, and we had no North Macedonians come. I think this is a recent increase. So back in our day, when we were running these 2 to 4 times a year, the UK was basically the leader, up in the 1 or 2 section. So that was where most of our sales came from. And they had a direct flight to Kos. That's why. So although we had our paid ads generated UK sales, it was our list that was generating Australian sales. So Australian clients would fly into Athens, and UK clients would fly into Kos. So it was super easy for the UK clients. 4-hour flight, land in Kos, you know, a 20-minute ferry, and you're with us. So yeah, excuse me, I'm gonna have a drink, guys. So yeah, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. And I just want to have one quick note, actually, before we leave, about the bed and bath ratio. I think this might be also of value to you guys. You don't want to have a bed and bath ratio of more than 4 to 1. Okay, so you're aiming for 2 to 1. So 2 people per bathroom is sort of where, obviously 1 to 1 is a dream. 2 to 1, if you can maintain 2 to 1, if you're looking at like 5 different venues and you really can't choose between them, and all of their online photography is, amazing, you've got great content, all of them are going to be sellable. If they meet on all areas, then you choose the one with the best bed to bath ratio. And the reason why is because throughout the whole retreat, people are going to be a lot more, they're going to feel much more open and nurtured if they do have their own environment to go out to. So, it's quite, it can be quite beneficial. That doesn't mean that if you don't theme the retreat in such a way that, people are to, or you've coupled people together on purpose because they're going to like each other, it won't work well. It's just that if your bed to bath ratio is 1 to 1, you're generally going to have happier people. Okay, if you start getting anywhere near the 3 to 4 area, you're going to have some whinging guests, and that's just the way it is. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining our lesson today, and I look forward to seeing you guys inside the group. Thanks. Have a nice day.